There's no you that can make this moment and what's happening and this any less God already. There's no you that can make this any less everything and nothing already. It's already this. So there's really no trying. There's an appearance of trying. There's an appearance of progression and like regression and doing good and doing bad at life, I guess. There's an illusion happening of movement towards something. We all think that we're moving towards something. There's no self that can move closer to perfection, to already perfection. This is already perfection appearing imperfect. This is already nothing appearing as everything. This is already no one appearing as someone. Really, how could there ever have been a self? Really, how could see, the sentence collapses on itself. It just collapses on itself because I was gonna say, how could anyone be kicked out of the Garden of Eden? But the second there is a one, the second there is a self, you're already out of the Garden of Eden. There's no self that was ever banished to hell. There's no self that was ever banished to earth or a separation from heaven or God. There's no self at all. That's the whole thing. The idea of a self in and of itself is hell. It is hell. That's even to say like a separate soul. It sounds treacherous, doesn't it? It sounds absolutely terrifying, doesn't it? At first. Or maybe it sounds delicious. To the one that thinks they're a good person, this message sounds horrifying. To the one that's built this identity and really believed that it could capture things within itself and experiences within itself, this sounds horrifying. Because it's basically saying none of that matters. None of it matters. None of it ever got you any closer or further away from this. This is just this already. the crane over there. This is just this already. So to the person that genuinely thinks they're a good person, or they're a religious person, or they're a real spiritual person, or they're empath, or whatever they deem good, it's scary. And then on the other hand, there's probably a lot of different hands, I'm not sure. It sounds absolutely delicious to the person that hates themselves. There's a desperation to get this for the person that hates themselves. And the funny thing is, most people aren't only one or the other. This idea of no self is seductive to the person that hates themselves, to the person that isn't happy with who they are or where they're at, because it's the idea that there's no more having to get anything. It's the end of suffering, really. So to the person that's unhappy with their idea of self, the idea that there's not a self to begin with is absolutely delicious, and it's something that you want to have. You want to realize it. You want to get there. That's getting there is already hell. There's no getting to what's already happening. To you watching me on a screen, sitting down, literally wherever you're at. This already looks like me outside in a complex, in a playground, in a, what's in this picture? Green and mulch and pink, and it already looks like this, or it looks like somebody in a jail cell, or it looks like somebody dying, or it looks like somebody being born, or it looks as mundane as toast. Dude, it's everything already. It's already this. Everything is already the fabric of everything, so how could you ever be separate from that? So usually people aren't just one or the other. Maybe somebody leans more towards thinking they're really good, and somebody leans more towards thinking they're really bad, like a depressive or like a narcissist. I don't know. I don't know anything. I really don't know anything. This isn't a message about I'm smarter than you, or I know something better than you, or I'm more spiritual than you, or more intuitive than you. This is none of that. I'm none of that. I'm not even really here. As far as I'm concerned, I'm nobody. But truthfully, most people aren't one or the other. It's usually a running. So there's a running back and forth between this being scary and this being intriguing, pivotal. It's like a treat that you know, it says it blatantly that it will kill you. Strong words, I know, but that it will kill you. This treat will kill you and set you free at the same time. It's truth. Known by no one. There's nobody that could know this. There's not even a person here that knows this. This is a mystery to the mind, and it's just happened on its own. But there's nobody here that's grabbing awakening or grabbing enlightenment or grabbing this within the person. This is realizing there's no more borders. So what once was thought that there was a a barrier between, like a barrier of skin and flesh, and some spirit or perspective trapped within the flesh, is now realizing that perspective really comes from it. There's no point perspective. This is not a center. So this used to feel really center. This used to feel really like everything is filtered through this, right? Like everything is filtered through this, and this is a center because everything's getting filtered through it. So the mind, the self, the ego, even the separate soul, which is really just your mind. The idea of a separate soul, there is no separate soul. If you think about it, there can't be if you believe there is a God, there is a higher power, there can't be a separate soul. There can't be a separate you. Not even as a soul or a spirit. There can only be soul. There can only be soul itself, which would be existence, this whole performance, this whole appearance, everything, which means these borders are just borders. The appearance of borders, not even real borders, not real contrast, not real color. This is no color appearing as all colors. This is stillness appearing as movement. No person appearing as every single person. It's already God. It's already this. You are already here. And you're not. And you're not. There's not a you that's here. This is just already soul. This, whatever's happening right now, as you are watching this, is already soul. It's already God. It's already this. There's no doing to get here. There's no doing to get here. Or maybe there is. Maybe you're doing something and it's already you doing and trying. There's just no escaping this thing. This is already what it is. Depression doesn't lock you out of here. Anxiety doesn't lock you out of here or get you out of here. Beliefs don't get you out of here or into here. It could never do that. Beliefs don't do that. Spirituality doesn't do that. Meditation won't do that. Your psychology and your healing doesn't do that. This is the great giving up. This is the great giving up. Everything's just happening. It's floating. Somehow everything is taken care of. Somehow everything is just taken care of by no one, for no one. This is freedom. And it costs you your mind. If I look crazy, it's because I did lose my motherfucking mind. It costs more than that. It costs a self. But then even saying it, wording it like that makes it seem like you have to pay yourself, or like you have to try to lose your mind. There's still a trying. There's still a... The mind is still queuing up things to do. To try to get here. This is... There's nothing that's separate from this. All of it is already God, so any appearance, so anything that is already in existence, anything in existence is what God is, and then what we're saying is there's really no existence. God is I am that I am. God is identity itself. God is anything that is an appearance. This whole appearance is already God, which is oneness appearing, and it's not really these separate things. So there used to be the thought that there's like mulch is separate from me and squirrels are separate from me, and there was separation, and when you separate things you think one thing is more special than the other. There's just separation. That's just how, that's duality. That's the mind. That's what's breaking. That's what breaks. But it's more like everything that can be in existence is just this one apparent organism. Almost like a holograph. I'm hesitant to say an organism because then the mind will try to bring it into some physical, concrete concept. It's like a hologram from nowhere, projecting from nothing. The hologram is God. The hologram is existence. And the thing is that your thoughts, the things you think, so even you thinking you don't get this, or you're separate from this, or maybe that you think you do get it, or there's a you at all, or that you're good, or that you want a chicken sandwich, I'm not sure. None of that is separate from what's actually apparent. How could that be separate from my hand? How could any thought that might be being had, or any action or any sound be separate from what seems like my hands or hands here? It's all the same thing. It's all God. It's all one. It's all soul happening. Be that mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, whatever it is, it's already God. So you even thinking that you don't get this, you even thinking that you're not here, you even thinking that there's some border, or that you need to realize it, is already this pretending. It's already this, it's already this, it's already this, it's already this, it's already this. This is the great giving up. And it happens on its own. So sometimes maybe videos help, or hearing things helps. I don't know. I don't even know what it helps, because really this is nothing. But truthfully, Awakening happens when it wants to. There's nothing you could do to speed this up or slow this down. This is already it. So the recognition, what the person thinks it's looking for is a personal recognition. To recognize this personally. But the thing is, what happens as you search down every personal path, every personal belief, and every personal thought, idea, feeling, it's when you exhaust every personal path that what's impersonal, which is ultimately everything, is revealed. And the personal was just an illusion. So it's the great giving up of the personal path. It's almost when you tirelessly wander down every path. It's the intuition that something is missing, like your whole life. Something's missing, something is not quite right. It's like, I heard somebody else use this reference, but like you think you lost your glasses and you're looking everywhere for your glasses, and just to realize they're right on your face. They've been on your face the whole time. The sense that something's missing is already you. The sense that something's missing is the sense of a person, is the sense of a separate self. So trying to find your own truth, your own path, your own way, they all lead nowhere, which is right here. It doesn't mean that everybody has this experience, if you want to call it that. It really doesn't matter. But ultimately, all paths lead absolutely nowhere. So you, yourself, are already a sense of what you are, the nature of the separate self, of what you think you are, which is you think you're in a body, you think you're a mind, you think you're a separate soul that the mind has created, when there's really just soul, which is an appearance, which is coming out of this great mystery, which is a nothing. And nobody can understand that. So it's just this, it's already this, it's already this. Isn't that beautiful? Like, how could you ever... It's weird, because it's almost like the past doesn't really... The past feels like maybe like a deja vu, or like, there used to be such an importance to the past. Like, the past had, at least here, the past had so much weight. So there used to be all this like projected importance onto this past, okay, that it apparently like existed. And now it almost feels like there's not really there's not really concept. There's obviously I can recall things, but there's not concept, like these strong like fortress of concepts of like, this thing's good, this thing's bad, or this thing is so meaningful and this thing's not meaningful, or whatever, attached to like events in my past, I guess. So like, even looking back, it's honestly hard to look. back, I've been wanting to get on one of these and talk about, like, to be honest, like, twin flame stuff kind of like led me here. That was like a culprit in my awakening. Now I don't even, it's like, it's something that I used to talk about so much, that held so much weight, that was huge in my life for years, like 11 years, like a long time, like just huge. Like if you've been through it, you know it. It doesn't matter ultimately, like that's the thing. Like it's something that I thought had so much meaning, and now it's like I can't even muster up the energy to tell like any of the story, even if I try. There's just like nothing, like I don't know. So trying to recall like coming to this, it's weird because I remember like it's almost like I was exhausting every path too, and I was looking for something that just like, it doesn't matter. That's the weird thing. It's like it's such a drag to even try to think about the past, or like if I were to try to give you guys a story and be like, it happens like this, it's like, it feels like it would be such a long story. And honestly, like, it feels like all of it's just meaningless now. Like, I could say it was meaningful, but it just feels, in totality, like, absolutely meaningless, and just, like, an absolute joke that any of that even happened, but on a relative level, on a relative level, it does feel like it was absolutely necessary. Like, all these things were necessary, and they were meaningful. And they did kind of get me here. Like, that's part of the story, I guess. But it's just like, this is the end of all stories mattering. So it's like, I don't want to tell it. But yeah, I don't know. It's just fucking cool. It's fucking, like, this is just what's happening. No matter where you're at, there's just ducks, and there's trees, and there's water. And me hitting my funny bone, somehow it all works out to, it can really seem like the person is like out of it, like they're fucking, like we're high or we're crazy. The weird thing is, it just feels like being so sober. You're sober from thinking. You're sober from concept. You're sober from the story. You're sober from tying meaning to literally everything that you're filtering through yourself. You're filtering it through your own meanings that you've created, which are just stories. They're concepts. They're not anything concrete, just like anything else, really. So to the world, it looks like you're drunk, it looks like you're going crazy, or maybe it looks like you personally know something that other people don't know. Like if somebody is a seeker, maybe they look at this video and they're like, oh my gosh, and it's like, no, this is you too. This is not separate from this is all one big story. It's not, my story's not separate from your story. This is just soul. And it's hard to even say the comforting words of like, you are here too, because it like reinforces the idea that you're a you, which might further separate you. So this is just soul already happening. This is just soul. No separate soul, no separate you, no separate mind. So it feels like getting sober. It feels like remembering. So it's like a recognition. It's like a, oh yeah. But it has nothing to do with a memory in your mind. So even like past life regressions or any spiritual woo-woo mumbo jumbo, that's all just mind. This is a recognition of what you are, who you are. It's a recognition of the dream, that this is just a dream happening, that the dream is God itself, and that there's not really a dreamer. Now, there's not a dreamer, there's not this center where the dream is coming from and being created and controlled. It's just a beautiful happening, like yeah, it's just a beautiful happening, and nothing changes, really. This is just what's happening. This is inescapable freedom. This is you already trapped in freedom. Trapped in freedom. So you can't get any closer or run any further from this. It's already you running. It's already you trying to get closer, far away. It's already the view. Yeah, it just feels like a recognition. Not a memory. It almost feels like a memory, like a remembering. It's like, oh yeah. But the oh yeah is not some separate you on some separate you soul journey or something like that. So even me saying it's a memory, sometimes the mind will be like, I'm gonna try to remember, and it's like a conundrum. You won't find a memory in there. There's no memory of this in there. You remember this in moments where you lose yourself, because that's exactly what this is. So when you fall in love, a you falls away for a second. There's moments where you just fall away. You fall away into the dream, into the experience. There's no sense of a dreamer. There's just a sense of a dream when you fall in love. Or when you look into the eyes of a child. Or when you take a nature walk. It's already happened to you. It remembers this when it loses itself, not when it's trying to remember, not when it's thinking, not when it's playing stories. Those moments where the stories shut off, when you're on a roller coaster ride, when you're purely instinctual, and there's no thought. You're here. You're already here. This is already it. There's a duck staring at me. This is just remembering that there's really no self. The self itself is the journey to know self. It's trying to get to know self already. It's trying to get to that freedom it feels when it falls in love, or when it, I don't know, is dancing, or when it's out in nature, or spending time with its favorite animal. There's a duck walking towards me. They always think I have food. Hello. I see freedom's not even in those things. It's not in the falling in love. It's in the self falling away. Do you see the pattern? It's in the self falling away. It's the moments where you don't even think of a self, where there's no story playing. There's just a dream happening. An experience happening, being experienced by a no one, when there's no sense of an experience or just an experience. It's been under your nose the whole time. I promise you, it's been under your nose the whole time. How could you ever be separate from this? Ah. I don't know. I don't know anything.